After 60, how do you heal from pain that was never acknowledged, never apologized for, and never fully left you? Whether it came from a partner, a family member, or a friend you thought would never betray you, the truth is, betrayal at this stage of life feels heavier. Why? Because it doesn't just break your heart. It shakes the very foundation of who you thought you were to them and who they were to you. Trying to deal with that pain the same way you did at 30 or even 50 won't work now, because at this stage, the stakes are different. You don't have time to waste on people who drain you. You don't have energy for emotional games. And you certainly don't have to lose yourself just to keep the peace. Hi, it's Vernon again. In today's video, we're going to explore 4 powerful ways to deal with someone who hurt you, without letting bitterness take root, and without abandoning the strongest, wisest parts of yourself. If this is something you've been holding in your chest for too long, stay with me. You don't have to carry it alone. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I share videos like this every week, made for those of us navigating the quiet, complicated truths that no one warned us about after 60. Now, let's begin with the first shift that has to happen before any healing can truly begin. Number 1, the sacred boundary. Protecting your energy without hatred. Peace becomes non-negotiable after 60. You've spent too many years trying to keep everyone else comfortable. But the truth is, you're not here to be endlessly understanding. You're not here to be anyone's emotional punching bag. You're here to live what's left of your life with clarity, calm, and self-respect. That starts with setting boundaries, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. The sacred boundary isn't about shutting people out. It's about protecting the parts of you that have been overexposed, over-explained, and overrun. When someone has hurt you, especially someone close, the instinct is either to cut them off completely or let the pain fester while pretending nothing happened. But there's a third way. You create space without carrying hate. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that holding on to anger and resentment creates measurable physical stress that accelerates aging and compromises immune function. For people over 60, this biological cost is simply too high to pay. Because hate binds you to them just as much as codependence does. And silence, when done out of fear, still gives them power. But a clear, calm boundary, that's power reclaimed. A sacred boundary sounds like this: I'm not angry, but I'm no longer available for conversations that drain me. I care about you, but I will no longer tolerate being spoken to that way. Or, I forgive you, but I won't keep inviting the same wound into my life. Protecting your energy doesn't require a dramatic exit. It requires consistent self-respect. Begin with small, clear acts. Leave the room when things get hostile. Don't explain yourself when it's not asked with love. Choose stillness over reaction. Write it down if you can't say it yet,
And remember this, your boundary is not a rejection of them. It's a deep acceptance of yourself. Have you ever set a boundary, not out of anger, but out of quiet self-respect? Or maybe you wish you had, but guilt got in the way. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might be the permission someone else needs to finally protect their peace. Because once you've drawn that sacred line, the next challenge begins.
Number 2. The alchemy of acceptance, transforming poison into medicine. There's a moment, usually in silence, often late at night, when you realize they're not going to apologize. They're not going to change, and the justice you've been waiting for may never come. That moment is brutal, but it's also the beginning of freedom. The ancient Taoist sage Lao Tzu taught, "If you understand others, you are smart. If you understand yourself, you are illuminated." This wisdom points toward a profound healing strategy that seems counterintuitive, using your pain as a teacher rather than simply trying to eliminate it. This is where the alchemy begins, turning pain into wisdom and betrayal into something that no longer defines you. Acceptance is not agreement, it's not approval. It's not saying what they did was okay. It's saying what they did is no longer going to shape who I become next. Because every minute you spend replaying their words, their actions, their indifference, is a minute they still get to live rent-free in your mind. Acceptance is the quiet decision to stop fighting reality, to stop needing the story to end the way you wanted it to. It's when you say, "I didn't deserve it, but I'm no longer holding it." If you drink the poison hoping they'll feel it, you die, not them. But if you learn how to extract the lesson, the clarity, the boundary, the insight, that's how the poison becomes medicine. That's the alchemy. Not erasing the pain, but using it as material for transformation. So what can you do? Start by naming the truth, not for them, but for you. Write it down. Say it out loud. They hurt me. It wasn't fair, but I choose peace over proof. Then ask yourself, what have I learned about myself through this pain that I wouldn't have learned any other way? This inner work of meaning-making creates the foundation for our next transformative strategy.
Number 3. The liberation strategy, releasing without losing power. Rumi wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come?" This mystical insight points toward a liberation that seems impossible when we're gripping tightly to our grievances. My friend Eleanor discovered this liberation through one of the most profound betrayals imaginable. At 71, Eleanor learned that her financial advisor, someone she'd trusted for 15 years, someone who'd become almost like family, had been systematically embezzling from her retirement accounts. By the time the theft was discovered, Eleanor had lost over $200,000 and faced the possibility of having to sell her home and depend on her adult children for support. Eleanor's initial response was to become completely consumed with getting justice, recovering her money, and seeing her advisor punished to the full extent of the law. She spent months obsessing over the legal proceedings, reliving the betrayal, and imagining various scenarios of revenge and restitution. But Eleanor made a profound discovery.
Her attachment to getting justice was consuming what remained of her life force. She was letting someone who had already stolen her money also steal her peace, her joy, and her remaining years. This realization led to what she called her strategic release, a conscious decision to let go of outcomes she couldn't control in order to reclaim her own power. Eleanor practiced what ancient wisdom traditions call spiritual aikido, using the energy of her pain to propel herself toward growth rather than revenge. Instead of spending her days planning legal strategies, she invested her time in financial education classes so she would never be vulnerable again. Instead of rehearsing her victim story, she began volunteering to help other seniors avoid financial fraud. The profound shift occurred when Eleanor realized that her advisor's betrayal had actually freed her from a false sense of security and forced her to develop skills and wisdom she might never have cultivated otherwise. She wasn't grateful for the theft, but she was grateful for who she was becoming in response to it. This liberation strategy doesn't require premature forgiveness or spiritual bypassing of legitimate anger. It requires the wisdom to distinguish between appropriate response and self-destructive obsession, between seeking justice and sacrificing joy, between learning from experience and being defined by it. If this message brought you clarity or comfort, consider sharing it with someone you care about, a sibling, a friend, maybe even someone who's been quietly carrying the same weight. Sometimes all it takes is one honest conversation to start healing what's been buried for years. Eleanor often says, "He stole my money, but I refused to let him steal my life." The distinction between what was taken from you and what you choose to give away becomes crucial for our final transformative approach.
Number 4. The Phoenix Rising. Rebuilding your identity from wisdom. You begin to feel something stirring beneath the ashes of what was lost. A flicker of clarity, of self-respect, of possibility. That is the beginning of the rise. This is where the phoenix enters, not the dramatic kind with flames and fury, but the quiet rebirth that happens when you rebuild your identity not from who hurt you, but from who you've become because of it. After 60, you don't need to start over. You need to start deeper. This stage of life isn't about chasing reinvention. It's about returning to the version of you that always existed underneath the people-pleasing, the caregiving, the quiet endurance. It's about asking, who am I now when I no longer need to prove anything to anyone? You've paid the price, in loyalty, in silence, in grief. Now you get to collect the wisdom. The ancient myth of the phoenix, the bird that rises from its own ashes, more beautiful and powerful than before, perfectly captures the transformative potential that lies within our deepest wounds when we approach them with wisdom rather than mere endurance. And wisdom, unlike pain, doesn't echo. It anchors. It reminds you that you are not defined by what someone did to you. You are defined by how you chose to rise after it. You're not who you were before the hurt. You're someone wiser, steadier, and far less likely to abandon yourself again. So what can you do? Make space for who you're becoming. Say yes to what brings you quiet joy. Reconnect with something or someone that feels like truth. Let go of roles you never truly chose. Reclaim your name, your voice, your worth.
Because sometimes the most powerful comeback isn't loud. It's simply this: I'm finally myself again.
As we reach the end of our exploration together, the 4 strategies: establishing sacred boundaries that protect without poisoning, practicing the alchemy of acceptance that transforms pain into wisdom, implementing the liberation strategy that releases without losing power, and embracing the phoenix transformation that rebuilds identity from wisdom. These aren't just healing techniques. They're pathways to becoming more fully yourself than you've ever been before. But healing after 60 isn't about returning to who you were before you were hurt. It's about integrating what you've learned through pain into a more complete, more wise, more resilient version of yourself. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Perhaps the end of your innocence about human nature is the beginning of your wisdom about human complexity. Perhaps the end of your illusions about guaranteed loyalty is the beginning of your appreciation for authentic connection. Perhaps the end of your false sense of security is the beginning of your real strength. At 60, 70, and beyond, you have something precious that younger people lack: the perspective to see that most wounds, no matter how devastating they feel in the moment, eventually reveal themselves as gifts in disguise. You have the accumulated wisdom to know that you've survived difficult things before and emerged stronger. You have the clarity about what truly matters that can help you focus your healing energy where it will be most transformative. Your healing isn't just personal, it's a gift to everyone's life you touch. When you demonstrate that it's possible to transform profound hurt into profound wisdom, you become a living example of human resilience and the transformative power of conscious choice. The person who hurt you gave you something they probably never intended: the opportunity to discover just how strong, wise, and authentically beautiful you really are. That's a gift that, once unwrapped, can never be taken away. If this video spoke to something you've been carrying quietly, maybe for years, take a moment to give it a like. It helps this message reach others who are walking through the same kind of pain in silence. Share it with someone you care about, a friend, a sibling, maybe even someone who's never had the words for what they're feeling. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I share weekly insights for those of us in the second half of life, the half where truth matters more than comfort. And healing isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. This is Vernon. Thank you for watching till now, and see you next time.